I have to drop it. I have to do it. I have to put down the wall. I know, I have a libido. I am very much a fan of sexy demi-humans, but today is the day that I let down the barriers and I let you know that there is a soft side behind this intimidating mass you see before you. Dropping manhood in 3, 2... I am not exaggerating when I say that Dangers in My Heart is probably one of the cutest shows that I have seen in a while. It just scratches every itch for me. And it's just so cute! Oh my god, there's so many things that go right with the show, and then so many things that are wrong with the show that I will get into. But for the most part, I am just so... You can't wipe a smile off my face. When I watch this show, it is just something that injects me with just Super Saiyan juice that bursts moe out of my fingers and toes and eyes and hair, and I'm pretty sure that I'm turning a different color right now. So I can't get it out of my head. This show is good, and to that I say, Mr. X Takaya, I worship the ground you walk on. Thanks for the recommendation. Every time that you give me a recommendation, I will now watch it, if you are even paying attention to me anymore. To anybody who has ever made fun of this man for his recommendations, never again. You now have my golden seal. You now have the antagonist pass. You now have my permission to say, this YouTuber told me that I am correct, that I have the good recommendations. I have a headache right now, so I'm gonna try to speedrun this as fast as possible, but if you're new to this particular series, this is one where you give me a recommendation, and I watch it, and I tell you what I think of it by giving it my own personal rating system that I call the MAHFF Index. That's something that rates music, animation, humor, fan service, and feels. After that, I tell you any real-world relation that it might have for some anime that's more than others. For this one in particular, there's not really many events that inspired. It's just kind of there. Its real-world connection is that it has a manga, and that it has an anime, and that it's probably giving heart palpitations to anybody who happens to watch it, including myself. I don't think that I'm long for this world any longer. It has simultaneously taken like 20 years off my life and given me 30. I don't understand the science either. After that, I'll give you my final thoughts, which you can probably already assess. So let's hop into it then. Let's get started. Like I said, I do not exaggerate when I say that this is one of the cutest shows that I have seen, or at least it's something that does romance right. Insomniacs did it right as well, but this one's just so... It treats it with such respect, and it's so cute, and it builds slowly. It's a slow burn. It doesn't start correctly. So this is a show of a boy named Ichikawa who is messed up in the head. And I'm not saying that to be mean. He does say that in the show. He says that he's messed up in the head. He has an affinity for murder stories and true crime. And he has a desire to kill the prettiest girl in class. I know, that sounds very edgy. He's supposed to be edgy in the beginning, that's the point. He keeps trying to hype himself up as a murderer until he finally meets this girl face to face, or rather just they're alone together, so they start just interacting with each other. And she is an airhead. She is an extrovert. She is just everything that he is not. And she just slowly starts to change him, I will say. I don't want to give too much away, and there's not really much that I can spoil because it's just a slice of life romance, but there is improvement in the show. He starts out edgy at first, and he gets better. The girl's name is Ana Yamada, and she is probably one of the most adorable love interests that I have seen in a very long time. I will take up a sword to fight for this one. If anybody tries to hurt Yamada or does something that they're not supposed to involving libido, there will be war crimes. So the two of them interact, they get closer together, and it turns out the guy is not as edgy as you may think. He's just a edgy middle schooler, so of course he doesn't actually mean it, he's just a kid. And one thing that the show does really well, that I want to give a compliment right off the bat, everybody acts like a friggin' middle schooler, and they are supposed to because they are middle schoolers. Yes, even Yamada. So as the story goes on, he finds out that he likes her, she finds out that he likes him, and the two of them just get into wacky shenanigans, and it's a slow burn romance from there. We're talking the works here. We're talking first name privileges. We're talking access to each other's Lime accounts. We're talking staring in each other's general direction. We're talking indirect kisses. And the main character is embarrassed to do all of it, which is
exactly how love should be.
The show also does well with their characters, too. It's something that Insomniacs kind of lacked, in my opinion. In Insomniacs, they were kind of just gathered together, and they were just there to fill out the time, and I guess just to interact with the characters. But in this case, you get the sense that there's a little more depth to them. Ironically, the middle schoolers are less superficial than people my age. What the heck? Anime's just so good at this. Oh god, it makes me want to try middle school again. And you want to know the biggest thing that I like about the show? They treat unprotected premarital handholding with the respect that it's due. I have been praising this for years, that unprotected premarital handholding is dangerous. It is something to be feared. Oh, but Austin, it's just handholding. It's not too bad. Yeah, look at what it does to this kid.
All right, give me your hand. This is off the record.
If we get caught, I'd be in lots of trouble. It's no good.
Don't worry so much. There, what'd I tell you? It's empty anyway.
Look at what happened to this kid. Look at how destroyed he looks. Unprotected premarital handholding is dangerous. Why would anyone listen to me? Alright, I'm chilled out now. Craziness aside, the show is also just really cute. That was the whole point at the beginning of the video, right? Overall, the show is also moe. It is cute, it is adorable, and it made me want to keep watching. Because, I'll admit, when I saw the first episode, I really wanted to drop this thing, because he was just an edgy dork, this kid, like Ichikawa. He is a mess. He starts out as a mess. He's messed up in the head. But that's just character development. You have to keep watching, and as soon as you get to episode 4, that's when he really drops the whole murder spree thing, and he starts to become more so like a love-struck teenager. Like, he's a nervous boy who is trying so hard to convince himself that he is something he's not, and eventually he blossoms into an actual person, which is something that I praised in Insomniacs too, where if you meet the right people, they will turn you into something you never knew you could be. Like, they will turn you into just your ideal self, or at least a more ideal version of yourself. That's just what happens, and I love stories that show that sort of thing. I really appreciate it when a story like that happens and really does that right and does that sort of thought process a justice. And I really appreciate it when that show happens to be really good, have good writing and characters, and is also the cutest thing that I've seen in a while. Starting with the music. The music was... It's not really something big. It's perfect for the show that it's in, kind of like how I said for Insomniacs. But it's chill. I'd say that it's better than Insomniacs. It's really lo-fi music. It's calming. It's an environment that welcomes you in. It kind of wraps you up in a moe blanket and makes you feel at ease. And I actually thought that it sounded a lot like Silent Voice when I first watched it, so I looked it up. It turns out the composer for the music was a man named Kensuke Ushio. Guess what he happened to work on before working on Dangers in My Heart? The eyes don't work, but the ears certainly do. The studio responsible for Dangers is Shin-E Animation. They're the ones that are most famous for doing Takage-san, and they've done some other stuff too, but this and Dangers are probably their biggest ones. I really love the art style. It looks kinda odd at first because the faces are so scrunched up and their foreheads are really huge, but then you look at Takage-san and you're like, oh. They've been doing this for a while. Yeah, that's a forehead you could project a movie on. There wasn't a point in the show where I thought, wow, they were kind of lazy here, or wow, they just implemented some lazy CGI or something just to save money, I guess. Because it's all normal, and eventually, when it comes to a scene where they know that they have to animate it right, they know that there's something they need to give the works, they give it the Sakuga treatment. They give it that whole roll of animation that doesn't stop. And in scenes where I guess something important is said, when a revelation is made, there is one scene in episode, I want to say 7 in particular, where there is a, how can I put it? He's sort of the voice of reason that looks out for her when she does something that could get her in trouble. So one of those moments is about to happen where she's about to get caught, and he makes a swift motion to cover it up in a really, I guess, forward way. And guy looks like a total hunk of a man when he does it. Like, he is a ball of confidence in that moment that really catches her off guard too. Like, she starts blushing like crazy. And I think that's when she starts really liking him as well. But anyway, that moment is just Sakuga incarnate. It's just a continuous roll of animation that maybe switches a few times, but the way that the hair moves, the way that the light looks, the way that the music goes off, Shin-E does really good work, and I hope that they continue to keep doing that. The humor is something that I'd say is the weakest part of the show. It's not unfunny, but especially for the first couple of episodes when Ichikawa is super edgy, it's not... I didn't really laugh. I thought that it was kind of ridiculous and over the top. But as the show got on and it went into more of the romantic comedy aspect, it was so much better. Like, there were times where I was laughing pretty hard, sometimes where I was giving out a slight giggle, but there was no episode that went by without me smiling uncontrollably. And I know that it's boring to go through some slice of life tropes, but this show does it in a really good pace that feels like we're still getting progress, even if it's something that's super little. Like what I said earlier, exchanging Lime IDs, getting first name privileges, going to each other's houses, meeting their family. There's an episode that covers each and every one of those, and it feels like it's earned. It feels like we're actually moving forward instead of being static like in a show like Rent a Girlfriend. It feels like it's doing something correct, and any show that's getting me to kick my legs in the air and scream into my pillow is clearly doing something correct. Like I said, there's no real haha moment, but I'd say that the voice actors are really good, so both in Japanese and dub, because I got a chance to see a little bit of both. The English voice actor for Ichikawa, I think his name is Clint Bickham. I hope I'm getting that right. He is a really good Ichikawa. Ichikawa, whenever he's thinking to himself, he sometimes screams inside of his head, even though on the outside he's super calm, and Clint just goes ham on his voice. Also, Caitlin Barr, who's most famous on this channel for having done Yuru Camp, she is Chiaki. She does Yamada, and every time she speaks, it is just like gold flowing into the air and wafting into my ears. It is so adorable. I get giddy over the airheads and the Genki girls. They're just so adorable, and you just want to protect them with every fiber of your being. Caitlin Barr does it really well. But there's also a little bit of depth to Yamada. Yamada isn't a total airhead. She's not just going along for the ride. She actually has some depth. It's not entirely superficial. And when that happens, you need some more serious moments. You need somebody who's willing to turn off the airhead and become a little bit more serious. And Caitlin Barr does a really good job at that, too. In regards to fan service, I feel like I'm walking into a trap here. When it comes to the fan service in the show, it certainly catches your attention, but it's not done in an over-the-top manner. It's not like main character slips on floor and then grabs someone's chest on the way down. It's not main character does a bowling ball slide or something underneath someone's skirt. No, in this case, it exists, but it's done in a believable way. It's done in a way that resembles the way that middle schoolers think, because, let's be honest, guys, we have had those thoughts in middle school throughout high school as well. Like, that is exactly how we acted. As much as we want to try to hide it, that's just us. But the way that you act on those perversions is really what speaks to your character. And what this character does, Ishikawa, whenever that sort of thing happens, he hides in his shell, he turns his head away, he blushes, he wants to get out of there as soon as possible, because he's not a horn dog. He's not after her assets. He's not just a one-track mind for breasts. That's actually one of the other guys in the show that goes to show, like, oh yeah, that guy, he's so perverted, I don't want to be that, or rather, it's, I'm not going to wear that on my sleeves, how come you have no shame? Ishikawa does have shame, and the fan service-y scenes exist to show you that he does. To that, I think that it's done to good effect. So, feels. In regards to the show, it's really about self-improvement. It's about how meeting the right people turn you into a better person, right? Very relatable. And I think that middle school, despite how the characters look, is the right way to go about it. Because during that time, there are just... You are in an edgy scenario. Like, I don't imagine that this is what happens to everyone, but there are a lot of people who have that moment in high school or middle school where they just feel like they push everyone away. They don't feel like they belong. It's just a really confusing time. And some people react to it in a pretty negative way, very much like Ichikawa, where they're very dark and edgy, and they do it to really get attention. In this case, this guy, after meeting Yamada, he feels different. He feels like, wow, this really isn't the right way to go about my way. Like, this really isn't the right way to live. And he becomes a better person. He makes friends throughout the show. And especially at the end of Season 2, when they're on a field trip, it's really hard to tiptoe around this, but he says something, it's something that really encompasses his growth from point A to point B. And it's a good way for the show to conclude. To my knowledge, there is no confirmation of a Season 3 being made, and honestly, I don't think that they need to make one. Because the message that they put out for Season 2, and especially the way that they ended it, seems pretty profound. It seems perfect the way that it is, and I'd be perfectly okay if they didn't make one. Also, if they did make one, I would be there front row seat, just ready to see it. I'll even learn Japanese if that's what it takes. Now, enough of that serious stuff, because when it comes to cuteness, the show is also just one after another. Like, when reviewing the show, there was one news outlet that said that the show's premiere was irritatingly good and that his defenses, Ishikawa, the main character, crumbled due to the series' relentless onslaught of cuteness. Calling the series absolutely or absurdly freaking cute, which, yeah, honestly, that's like the best way that I could put it. It's just an onslaught of cuteness, and it doesn't stop. I'll tell you what it felt like. It felt like moe overload, and you know what? Here's some examples.
Now spin around. On the shoulder. Should be fine. Hide your throat drop. I hope no one from school passes by. I think the staff here will rat us out at the school. Me saying bye-bye is weird. Too weird. What now? What do I do? See ya later.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
Because my head's going to explode. It's literally going to So, relation to the real world. Dangers in My Heart was written by Sakurai Norio in 2018, and the anime came out in spring 2023 and finished its Season 2 as of March of 2024, so this one's fairly recent, and as when this video came out, the dub is still being worked on. I'd say that's pretty good for a story that's this recent to get a whole anime adaptation, let alone a second season.
Still working on that for some shows.
And the latest news about it is that it appears to be getting a light novel adaptation. So, light novel, that's just the ones that have words instead of pictures. Sorry, fellas, I know. And there's going to be some additional stories in there for fans of the series, so if you're looking forward to something like that, then by all means pick up the light novel. I'd say that it's definitely worth the read. If the stories of the anime are any indication, these should be some pretty good highlights too. And there's really no other relation to the real world. Like, Season 2 did better than Season 1, definitely. And that one does have an 8.9 on Mal, but I decided to look against it because I want to rate the whole show in general. And the first season got an 8.2, or somewhere around an 8.2. So that's what got it through the barrier. And after watching it, I can honestly say that, yeah, watching Season 1 is a bit of a slog when you have to go through those first 4 episodes of cringe, and then you come across a better show. But once you get to Season 2, like, all of that gets wiped away, and it becomes a really good romantic slice-of-life comedy that I highly recommend to anybody who's a fan of the genre. But that really just sums it up. Like, I believe that this show is a pretty good symbol of that desire to have a second chance, and how that a second chance is not beyond the reach of anybody who wants it. There are many people who say, like, oh yeah, no second chances for people who are, like, going to repeat the same mistake over and over and over again. And that's true. Like, anybody who does not believe that they want to change, like anybody who's trying to use that as an excuse to keep doing bad stuff and recidivize, I believe the word is, definitely isn't open to those. But that's not the case here. In this series, boy meets girl, boy realizes how messed up he is, boy wants to change. And despite being held back by both himself and how he thinks that other people look at him, he does. And sorry for spoilers, I guess, but yeah, this whole show where he's trying to figure out a way to become a better person, he does become a better person. And he's so thankful to Yamada for showing him that he falls in love with her, and she falls in love with him. It's really adorable, and I want more stories like this to exist, because I think that it's just romance done right, and I love it. Like I said, tearing down the walls, I am a huge romance nut, and I just will continue to love those sorts of series for the continuous future, and that's not going away anytime soon. And now for the best girl moment. Who do I think is best girl in Dangers in My Heart? That title belongs to Kana Ishikawa. She is adorable, and she is also just that perfect big sister that looks after her brother whenever he's going through his crush moments, and also acts in tandem with him, like whenever he admits that he likes her. Yamada, not his own sister. We're not going that route. The age Themoto is dead, damn it, we're not going back. Everything about this show just makes me smile, including her. I mean, just look at the pose, isn't she? Wait, nope. Not that, no. Show a better one. We as a human species don't deserve this sort of thing, but we got it anyway, and I am just so thankful for that. That is my point of view on Dangers in My Heart. Really good. I'd give it, like the whole series, I'd say 8 out of 10. Season 1 gets a 7 out of 10 because of those first 4 episodes, and Season 2, 8 out of 10, just like straight up 8 out of 10. Or maybe 8, like, I don't want to put halves, because I'm really close to giving it a 9, but 9 is reserved for like the very near masterpieces, and then 10s are something that I'd say are just perfect, and there's nothing that I would want to do to change it. I can't say anything off the top of my head that I'd want to change about Dangers. Maybe give some of the characters more of a moment, because like I said, some of them get their moments, others don't. And I think it would be pretty cool if everybody did get their own. But the story seems to be written in a way where there is supposed to be more that gets added to it, and in fact, there is more that gets added to it. The manga is still ongoing, but the way that this season 2 works, it looks pretty conclusive, and they end the story, at least ends the story between our two main characters really well. So it's one of those weird scenarios where it feels like an ending and doesn't feel like an ending, and that's maybe my biggest complaint with the show so far. That's it. That's all that I would change. I think that it's really good. Definitely recommend it. I should probably mention the winning show from the last recommendation that I asked for is Trigun. That's the one that we're watching right now. I'm about halfway through that, and I will make a video on that one, just as I made a video on Dangers. So stay tuned for that. Once again, thank you, X Takeya, for recommending Dangers in My Heart. Really enjoyed this one. Super good. Glad that I hung on. And I just worship the ground you walk on now. You have good taste. Also, wear gloves. No unprotected premarital hand-holding. Protect yourselves. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Sayonara, suckers.